this record,
Oh,
our good friend Rory Holmberg, like he's like my sibling, he's like my brother, and I grew up. And he's the reason I met Claudio. And the
yeah.
three of us loved this record, and I remember having it on CD. And it actually does sound really good on vinyl. But look at that! Look how cool it looks, and like it has the little comic book thing that it comes with, and it's such a cool thing to like recollect these records that they put new time and love into.
This,
There was a song called "Tethered Together,"
yeah.
and that was one of my favorite songs that Claude had. So I was super excited. I sent him some stuff, and he was excited with a lot of the ideas. But I came in to work with him at his studio in Brooklyn to like hone in on the ideas. And I know three of the sounds for sure. Like this doesn't have the song, and it's a little disorganized, but it's XTC. There's a song called The Disappointed. Have you ever heard that song?
Yeah, I
The
love XTC.
Disappointed. So I definitely there's a guitar part in there that I was like, that he and I were working on that reminded me a cross between that and Huey Lewis in the News. If this is it, and it's like this pre-chorus thing, and then I remember like some of the ideas I worked on, like I kind of like a cross between Thin Lizzy and some Danzig kind of stuff. But the disappointed the XTC sound is more in like the reverbed out guitar, and then at one point we added a harmony. But yeah, and this Thin Lizzy album, actually, I have Chinatown.
Oh,
So
dude, that's
yeah, this is
awesome.
one of my favorites. But so yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a couple of the songs. I could probably go all day. Like, you know, some of the songs he already had a lot of guitar parts, so that'd be all his question as to what he had in there and what the actual song itself maybe was influenced by. Like, it's funny you mentioned Corner of My Confidence. The guitars I sent, like, I sent those in and I sent them as stems to him and Zach, the producer, and they wound up using in the second verse these guitars I sent, but they put this effect on it, so it almost sounds like a banjo,
Yeah,
and and it made me fall in love with the part even more. Like
yeah,
I would have never even thought to add it like that, and I've added banjo even to Coheed stuff in the past, so I'm down. I was like,
totally.
that sounds like a banjo, and Claude was like, yep, it does. I was like, cool, yeah.
I love it. Just another Coheed thing, real quick, is just, I've only listened to the album once now. It's still super fresh, and I don't know the songs very well, but there are a couple of songs in this album that are just so heavy, like in just the most awesome, deliciously heavy way. It's amazing. Blindside Sunny, Play the Poet, a couple of good examples. But yeah, I just wanted to get your take on like how did you feel about kind of going that hard? Not that you guys haven't done that in the past,
Well,
but
that's why, to me, it's a return to stuff that we've done before. I considered Blindside Sunny to be very much like, and even character-wise, that he developed with an Al the Killer from In Keeping Secrets, and Play the Poet. Although some of the delivery vocal is new for Claudio, and he'd have to speak on that. Some of the heavier riffs, it's more in the production that they sound different than like a Delirium Trigger kind of like, or a you know even the heavier kind of breakdown part, though it sounds more like a newer style for Coheed. It's really not. Like we've done a lot of that kind of, even on the
yeah,
last record with Shoulders. Like to me, there's parts of Play the Poet that have that, you know, that style. So to me, if the album is just a great mix of things that we've already touched on, but we're more refining. But I would say, you know what, Play the Poet does have some aspects where it's good you said that song, where I do think the band stretches out into a little bit of new territory. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. And that was definitely Claudio wanting to experiment with those sounds, and I think it was also working with Zach Cervini, the producer, and him leading it in that direction. Because there's certain things that sounded quite a bit different before he got his hands on them. You know,
Yeah.
um, there were a lot that Claudio already had perfected, even with after I went in and worked with him on guitars, where it became more of a mixing thing with Zach. But Claudio's producing style is very heavy on it. That's why it's a co-production thing, because Claudio's really come a long way in the producing, area as well. So it's interesting. Like it depends on the song, depends on the parts, but like I think that's definitely stretching into new territories in certain places. But there was a lot that where we've already kind of touched on. It's just the production has progressed.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Why do you think it's important that we still have this stuff in the age of Spotify and all the streaming? What would you, if you were going to make your case for why people should collect and or why you collect, what would that be?
I do think it's a fidelity thing for like we talked about before for certain records for sure. For me, it pushes me back into my love and my admiration of actual album art and actual album, the continuity of the album itself and what the musicians actually set out for you to hear as the story of the record. Um, you just don't get that anymore. And even when you had CDs, you were dealing with the details being so tiny, And with vinyl records, like, I'm going to pick the first thing that I grab, all right? And, oh, wow, this is funny enough, this is Jawbreaker covers on cello. But I mean, even like the
Yeah.
detail of like, of her carrying that cello and stuff like that. Like think about that when it's just on an MP3, when it's just streaming, like you
Yeah.
don't get that stuff. Like I mean, it's to me that stuff is just as important, all the little details of of records that we grew up loving, you know, just I don't know. They put a lot more into records now too because they want people. Oh, there goes that one. They want people to. They want people to have a reason to collect these things.
Yeah.
That's what Coheed. That's a big deal. A big deal for Coheed is making it so that people feel like there's a reason for them to collect our box sets. And I mean the concept being involved with Coheed is a very important part of it that sets us apart in more than just it being involved in the music, but also it's involved with the packaging itself. I guess
Oh
that's
yeah.
part of it too. Is I admire something that's really well put together that goes along with the music. For some of the older records, when you get to look at like at certain aspects of the cover art, it's significantly changed throughout the years. So when you buy the album, especially if it's an original pressing, you're almost looking. It's like a time capsule. So
Yeah. There's something that you mentioned about, that covers the cello thing. For me, that's a big part of it. It's just infinitely more fun to go to a record store, flip through, and see things like if I saw that, I'd be like, "What the hell is this?" And I saw the cello. That's the kind of thing I wouldn't. And maybe the algorithm would eventually show you things, but going to a record store and finding things and not knowing what it is and just taking a chance on it,
yeah,
there are things you would never find otherwise. It's like a one moment in time. You were there at that store, that record was sold, and you found it. And there's something beautiful, I think, about that.
yeah. It's also it's a show off thing too. It is.
Totally.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Let's talk about that side of that. That it's a show off thing. It's like you have somebody over your house and you are like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, you want them to go over and look, this is what he likes music. It's almost like not even just the show off thing, it's a cut to the chase. Like,
Yeah.
look at my record collection, you kind of, at least from that angle of my life, know who I am.
Yeah. If
You
it's
know
like
what I
someone
like.
new, like they come over to your house and they're like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and you're like, "Oh, you got records."
Especially since I've fucking made it so that these records truly are the ones, like I said, I do my crazy, like, it's got to be a record that meant a lot to me or that I truly love that it's in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or it has a story to it. Like it has a story as to why, even if it's not a record I'm going to listen to all the time, like it's got to have a reason that it's in here. Somebody would be like, "Well, why do you listen to this a lot?" Well, no, my best friend gave you know gave it to me when I was like 14, and I've held on to it since then. And I'm trying to find a record that's like that, but offhand, I know there are numerous in here, but I don't have, like
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah, there's stuff like that with everything. That's my memory is bad in general, but when it comes to like a record or like hearing an album for the first time, it's like super vivid. I can almost tell you like where I bought it. Like it's almost kind of weird. That's the one the one thing my memory is great at, and it makes me feel good just even touching and looking at these things and like it improved my mood instantly.
Oh, absolutely. Like this record,
Oh,
our good friend uh, Rory Holmberg, like he's like my sibling, he's like my brother, and I grew up. And he's the reason I met Claudio. And the
yeah.
three of us loved this record, and I remember having it on CD. And it actually does sound really good on vinyl. But look at that! Look how cool it looks, and like it has the little comic book thing that it comes with, and it's such a cool thing to like recollect these records that they put new time and love into. So I hope that I kind of described why I think it's important.
Of
The art
that.
itself, vanity,
Hey, let's be honest. Let's get real. Vanity is part of
yeah,
it.
it's part of it.
It's a healthy vanity, I think, you know? It's not
The
destructive.
best part is if you think about like people, like your average person coming into somebody's house, and you think that if because they see you have a great collection of meters records, that's not going to do anything. So whatever side of me thinks that people are gonna, like, there's certain people like you and I who probably go and look at each other's collection and go, "Oh, dude, Ryan, oh man, that's so cool that you have that." And new respect gets gained. But
Yeah.
for the average person, I mean, we have people come over and they're like, "Oh my god, he still collects records,"
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Same
that's
here.
we build it up to be in our brains, but we the people that we really want to be respected by respect these collections.
No doubt
So,
about it, man. Dude, Travis, this was amazing.
yeah,
This
I had fun, bro. I was really excited for this. It's one of my things. Like, so I think that you'll probably, hopefully, continue to get a lot of people because I know there's a lot like us out there. So keep going with it, man. I'm proud to be a part of something that's new, that's exciting. Well, you got to get Zach too, because Zach, and like I said, Claude has a pretty damn good collection, but Zach is a full on collector like we are,
dude.
more outside the box than what we would probably go on because he loves jazz so much that
Yeah.
you could get him going on and on. So
It all if you
to get
want.
him going on like some pure like jazz fusion kind of thing, straight to the Jesus Lizard, like so. Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
probably won't want to like you know. He'll be like, nah, I got to go write a song. I don't want to talk about it. It's like a fine line because like I love. That's been my thing. Is like I do get lost in other people's music. That's probably why I love to collect. And not that he doesn't, but I split my time more with getting lost in other people's music and liking to create music. But there are certain people that they're just like, I think he'd be the first to say it. I'd rather create my own music constantly than listen to. Not that many things haven't influenced him, but I am a fan and listener to a lot of things more than a lot of musicians are, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that's helped me to be, I think, a better team player and want to add to other people's creations more because I can stand back and be a fan of it. The fact that you got to hear the new Coheed, like that means a lot in the sense of what we were able to talk about because it's very hard talking to people and trying to describe music and art that is not they haven't experienced it all yet.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's exciting to me to talk to you having heard that album.
Like I said,
Probably the first person I've talked to for something like this that's actually heard the record.
oh, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been a fan since whatever 2003, I guess technically, and you guys never. You're like one of the few bands that always delivers.